you, John sir, to start from where we are. And it was the first step of Insight In-Depth Invited Talk series. With that first step, by the grace of Almighty, now we are at the 11th talk of the series. Welcome everyone to our today's webinar hosted by the research wing of the prestigious Matthew Training College. Excellence through divine illumination is our vision. The college stands for enlightenment, excellence, and empowerment, realizing the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man, so as to mold a cognitively enriched, effectively balanced, morally upright, socially committed, and spiritually inspired teachers for the world. Thank you all for finding time and being here for the webinar. Myself, Sanila Manoj, Research Scholar, Matthew Training College. Prayer is the link that connects us with God. Let us begin our meeting by seeking the blessing of Almighty with a prayer. Please be paused for a while.
There shall be showers of blessing. This is the promise of love. There shall be seasons refreshing, sent from the Savior above. Showers of blessing. Showers of blessing we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. There shall be showers of blessing, precious reviving again. Over the hills and the valleys, sound of abundance of rain. Showers of blessing, showers of blessing we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. There shall be showers of blessing. Send them upon us, O Lord. Grant to us now a refreshing. Come and now honor thy word. Showers of blessing, showers of blessing we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead.
Thank you, everyone. Before we start, let me humbly remind you that all are expected to mute your audio and video to avoid any distractions from listening to the webinar. If you have any queries related to the meeting, please type them in the chat box. After the talk of our resource person, there will be a deliberation time. At that time, you can unmute your audio and express your views and clarify your doubts regarding today's topic. This meeting is being recorded and it will be shared through our MTTC official YouTube channel. The link will be shared also through the Insight In-Depth WhatsApp groups.
Feedback form will be shared through the chat box only at the end of the meeting. Today, there will be two feedback forms. Please fill them both. Only those who submit the feedback form will receive the e-certificate within 2 days through the email ID which you enter in the feedback form. I humbly request everyone to kindly follow the instructions for smooth conduct of the meeting. Kindly cooperate. Thank you. May I now invite Smriti S. Pillai, Research Scholar, Martiflus Training College for the welcome address. Welcome, Smriti.
Thank you, Sanila. Am I audible? Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, Smriti, yes.
Okay. A very good afternoon to everyone present here. It is my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to you all on behalf of Research Wing MTTC. All our Insight in-depth program will become resourceful with our resource person. At the very outset, let me welcome our resource person, Dr. Madhavi Dharankar, Head and Associate Professor, Department of Educational Technology, SNDT, Women's University, Mumbai. On behalf of all present here, I welcome you, ma'am. The essence of great leadership influences and not authority. With this note, I would like to welcome our principal, Dr. K.Y. Benedict, sir. I welcome you, sir. We are always influenced by your leadership, sir. He who put his soul and heart in uplifting others attains dignity. Yes, I welcome our research coordinator, Dr. Jojo Jones, sir, in this program. I welcome you, sir. I also extend a warm welcome to all the teachers and guides of other colleges and our college to this webinar with respect. Next, I welcome all the research scholars and students well-wishers to this program with great joy. Last but not least, I welcome all the research scholars of our college who are the strength of our research wing. We are so glad to have you all here. Let me appreciate you for your presence. Once again, a heartfelt welcome to one and all present here. May God bless you. Thank you. Sanla, please.
Thank you, Smriti. Thank you, Smriti. Today's webinar is the 11th webinar of Insight In-Depth Invited Talk series. It is conducted on every Friday from 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Our topic for today is Joint Display, the Climax of Mixed Method by Dr. Madhavi Dharankar, ma'am, Head and Associate Professor, Department of Educational Technology, SNDT, Women's University, Mumbai. Hope it will be a great webinar for all of us. Let me invite Nitya SS, Research Scholar, Martiflus Training College, for introducing our guest of honor, Dr. Madhavi, ma'am. Over to you, Nitya.
Thank you, Sanila. Am I audible?
Yes. Yes, Nitya.
Good afternoon. On the behalf of Theophilus Training College, I would like to extend a warm welcome to distinguished dignitaries, teachers, and all participants. It is my tremendous pleasure to introduce our guest of honor for today's talk series, Insight In-Depth, conducted by Theophilus Training College Research Wing. We are indeed privileged to have noted educationalist and eminent writer Dr. Madhavi Dharankar, Head and Associate Professor of Department of Educational Technology and Coordinator of SWAYAM for SNDT, Women's University, Mumbai, as our chief speaker. A few words about ma'am. She has secured PhD related in educational communication. She happened to get career exposure as a teacher of a variety of institutions, a private school, a teacher education college, conventional university, and Yashwantrao Chavan, Maharashtra State Open University from 2000 to 2015. After that, she joined Department of Educational Technology in December 2015 and now heading the department since May 2018. She has graded over 40 master's level dissertation. She is PhD grade and presently grading 3 PhD scholars. She was a mentor for a project during 2019 and was a developer for a project in 2020 for UNESCO under their initiative Open Education for a Better World. She is a member of committee constituted by NCTE for examining and monitoring the teacher education courses offered regular, open and distance mode, and also a member of International Review Board for several events and journals. As I mentioned earlier, she is an eminent writer who has several publications to her credit. 5 individual books, 12 co-authored books, 7 chapters in books. Sorry. Am I audible?
Sorry, yes, Nitya. Please continue.
12 co-authored books, 7 chapters in books. For distance learning also, she has authored 2 individual books, 4 co-authored books, and 37 chapters as study material. She has contributed 21 chapters in training material, 16 papers at international and 14 papers at national conferences. Her 16 papers have been published in journals and 15 in popular magazines. She also prepared 16 system requirement specification documents for B.Ed and M.Ed admissions, and also show His Excellency as content expert by preparing 26 modules NMEICT and EPG Pathshala. For this solemn and ceremonial event today, there could not have been a more appropriate person than her to enhance, to enlighten, and to enrich this prestigious occasion. In spite of her busy schedule, she will share valuable expert knowledge on the topic Joint Display, the climax of mixed method. Once again, I welcome you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitya. We are fortunate to have such a great person as our resource person. With a great gratitude, let me invite you, ma'am, for expressing your valuable views and opinions about the joint display, the climax of mixed method. It will be an asset for all of us. Dear participants, please pin the presentation to avoid any distraction of the resource person. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, and it has been a great pleasure to be a part of this initiative. I have been knowing Dr. Benedict as a person who is in love with mixed method and qualitative research, but on occasion of planning this particular event, got to know about this wonderful initiative college has taken in under the name of Insight and Indepth. So I think it's something that many other institutions, including our own department, could take it ahead. So thank you very much, all the faculty members of Mar Theophilus Training College, Kerala. Of course, Principal Dr. Benedict, the coordinator, Dr. Joju John, and all the persons who are behind the scene while arranging for this online event. It's a great pleasure. Many of you have been in the, like, they are either research guides or they are research scholars. So nothing more happy moment of happiness than this, to talk about mixed method and the researches under which are conducted using mixed method. I am sharing my screen right now. Sanila, just before I go ahead, it's 2:48 right now. Till what time do I have the time to speak? 45 minutes, or like how much it is?
Hello, ma'am. You can go up to 1 hour, ma'am. You can go up to 1 hour. We will have a short discussion after that, and we'll conclude by 4 o'clock, 4:15. Thank you.
Sure. So I can consider it as 3:45. 1 hour means.
Oh, sure, ma'am. Sure. No problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I'm sharing my screen. Oh, sorry. Okay, I hope my screen is visible or getting visible to you all.
Sorry, ma'am. Now it's not presenting.
Okay, fine. Let me see once again. Yeah, I think now it must be.
Yes, ma'am. Now it's presenting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, as you know, I'm not able to see anything else than my PPT. So if there are any challenges, if you're not able to see PPT, or if I'm not audible or whatever, please poke me in between. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Sure. Thank you. Please,
Thank you.
dear participants, please pin the presentation. It will avoid any distraction. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So we all are basically lovers of research, and I think lovers of qualitative research and mixed method research. We know that there are so much efforts go into the research when we take up the qualitative, and I personally believe that it is all the more efforts when you take up mixed method. People do feel that compared to qualitative mixed method is easier or little less laborious, but I don't believe so, because one can go for mixed method only after having the clarity of both qualitative and quantitative. And plus there is something else coming, because the mixed method basically is based on the concept of synergy, I feel, because it doesn't say that 1 + 1 is equal to 2, but it says that 1 + 1 is equal to much more. So that's what this particular Venn diagram is talking about. So your qual-con could be, proportionately, one could be smaller, another could be bigger. So that would differ from research to research. So that the darker green, the lighter green part is the individual clarity, or the understanding that only quan or only qual brings. But the magic starts happening, or the bar gets raised to at much higher level the moment the two circles start overlapping each other, and the central darker green portion, I feel that that is the portion for which the researcher and the research guide puts in so much of efforts and their time, everything, intellect. So maybe that those individual components take little less time, less energy, but when it comes to mixing of the data which has been independently or individually collected for qual, that demands much more energy, much more deeper understanding, much more churning, much more looking around ourselves, and then we can really make use of this part. Having said that, if the research is saying that yes, mixed method is being used, and this is done is done through quantitative method, and another part has been handled by qualitative method, and that's it. In my opinion, this research is really not exploiting that the strength of mixed method, and it's not being really doing justice to the commitment that is being made. So that is why today we are going to speak only about this green portion. I'm not going to speak about how to conduct mix method, or what are the types, and all that theoretical part, or I would say the basics part. I'm not going to deal with. I'm also not going to talk about how to collect data for mixed method, but we are going to start a discussion right at the place where the research was taken up. It has been like the individual qualitative and quantitative methods were decided, the data has been collected, it has been analyzed individually. Okay, so till that we are done, and then what? How do we mix the data, or how do we, really look or get the insight of the situation by really taking a very close-up look of the data, and that too by mixing that together, because that's the fun. Otherwise, there is no point in taking mixed method. So for this, rather than talking about theory, what I have decided that I would be presenting a few research studies to you. These studies are basically, one of them is naturally my own doctoral study when I had used mixed method, and other studies are of my students whom I'm guiding. They have completed, some of them have completed, and some are still they are in the process. I don't think I have included anyone in the process, but those who have completed, I have included. Secondly, since my background has been teacher education, and now it is educational technology, the researches that would be seen will be from this domain. So that is, you can consider as my limitation, because I have not conducted or guided any researches beyond this domain. So nothing in languages or other social studies, or any other disciplines. So with that limited framework, and with my whatever limited work I have done, so let us try and peep into those researches, and looking at the perspective that how the data has been mixed, how the joint display, because that is what is the joint displays are all about. How do we present the data in the mixed form? Okay, so let's go ahead now. So this is, as I said, the first one is my own study of my doctoral research, where I had compared the behavioristic and constructivistic approaches to technoandragogy, and context was teacher education. So that's why you can see that special reference to teacher education. So I had purposely highlighted the key terms in red, so that you would be able to link them for the further slides. So sorry. So this was a comparison of BTA and CTA, and naturally when I wanted to compare them, so I wanted to look at how much do they differ, and second was how do they differ. So for how much, naturally there was quantitative, which was more exploration, and how was handled by qualitative, which was more of explanation and expansion. So for answering how much experimental design was used, and whereas for answering how they are different, the grounded theory design was used. So in all, the mixed method design that was used was an embedded experimental model of mixed method design. So here, this diagram, I'm sure is you are familiar with this diagram. It is you have seen in Creswell's book. So this is the diagrammatic representation of what is, when is the data getting generated and when is that getting mixed up. So it was more of qual, and that's why you can see quan in capital and qual in small letters. So, and then at the end of it, the data was interpreted. Now this generated a huge table, because when I was trying to capture the matter from my dissertation, I mean not dissertation, from my thesis, but it was not possible to put that in the PPT. So that is why the slides which you would see further, they are kind of snapshots of that. I am very happy to share that my thesis entire work is available on Shodhganga. So I will be sharing that link with Dr. Benedict, and I will request him to share that link with all of you so that you can directly go to that the work, and you can see the entire work. And as I said, that here I had to kind of compromise on showing the kind of detailed tabulation I have done in the chapter, but you will be able to see that work on Shodhganga, and I'm sure you would enjoy, and definitely I would love to get your comments on that. Anyway, coming to this mixing of qualitative and quantitative data, there was no joint display word that time in 2015. So even in the work on Shodhganga, you would find it is more of mixing of the data. That terminology has been used. Okay. So quantitative finding told that there was no significant difference between the two approaches in terms of metacognition. Now, this was a little surprising for me as a researcher, because as theory, we have been reading all the time that constructivistic approach develops metacognitive abilities, but not behavioristic approaches. But here there is no significant difference between the two approaches. When it is they're compared quantitatively. So when qualitatively it was looked into, so what else obtained in the qualitative? That student teachers exposed to CTA, that is constructivistic, were given opportunity to think and opine. Okay, that was a part of the treatment that was given to them. Such opportunity was not given to the student teachers exposed to BTA, because BTA and CTA were the difference in the treatment basically. In spite of that, the student teachers exposed to BTA also use rational based expression. So that was found out, it was through Facebook close group was used for their deliberations, and they could, it was found that they are, when they're expressing, when they are giving, responses to the questions being raised, they are not told that you have to give the reason for your action, but it was noticed that they are also giving the reasons for their actions, or if they have used a particular method or used a particular teaching aid in the classroom, or not used something. So they are also giving the reasons for that. So thus metacognition processes happen irrespective of the approach used. So that's through qualitative, the reasoning for what was striking reasoning, finding from quantitative was obtained. There was the qualitative provided the base, and this is how they were linked together. Now in this particular diagram, it is not possible to put in the exact codes, etc. But if you read the entire work, the thesis, then you would be able to see the those parts as well. Okay, let's see the next one. Finding from quantitative analysis was the student teachers exposed to CTA had more favorable reactions towards technoandragogy compared to BTA. So the question was, what must have been there which CTA students like more as compared to BTA? So the reasons here are given in terms of the categories identified, the codes identified. So here it is said that the student teachers were exposed to BTA, they showed little less favorable reactions, even in terms of qualitative. Okay, so there was lack of openness to the responses by others, or there was, I mean, this casual condition context, whatever you are seeing in the bracket, is, if you know about grounded theory and Strauss-Corbin approach, systematic approach towards grounded theory, it speaks about showing the findings, showing the results of qualitative analysis in the form of a diagram. And the names of the blocks in the diagrams are fixed, as you know, and they are causal conditions and context, strategy, consequences, etc. And from that perspective, these terms you are seeing in the bracket right now. So you can see that they felt there was inadequate feedback, or they were indifferent towards the techno-andragogical discussion during, or they developed negative psychological reactions. So here again you can see the connect between, or the reasoning why BTA might have enjoyed it to a lesser extent compared to the students exposed to CTA. We shall see the next one. The finding, quantitative finding, is the student teachers exposed to CTA interacted better during the learning from the experience. So that is the phase of their reflective thinking that was considered in the research. So in this particular quantitative finding, the reason obtained from qualitative was the pupil-centered thinking, or the facilitating higher intellectual capacities, are they are salient features of CTA. Okay, it's a constructivistic strategy, so naturally they are in the focus. As a consequence, their thinking abilities got developed and broadened. So are the qualitative indicators for learning from the experience. So there were qualitative indicators found in order to support or give rationale to why this particular quantitative finding might have been obtained through quantitative analysis. So as I said, this we have kind of captured the very snapshot of this, but you will be able to see this entire thing in detail on Shodhganga. Okay, we move on to the next research now. Now we are moving to the researches which are conducted by my students, whom I have guided them for research. So this is just a few of them are very I can use the term oven fresh, because they were just they appeared for their Viva just last month, no, I think October or so, something like that. So that fresh it is. Okay, so this particular research was conducted by Pallavi. We run a program called as MA/MSc in e-learning, which is a 2 years program. So she was a student of MA e-learning in that. So she wanted to study the video-based learning and how it affects the achievement. So she took up the study to study the effectiveness of video-based learning on achievement in geography of higher secondary students, a mixed method study. So let's see what she has done. Okay. Now I'm just here I'm trying to put the objectives as well as research questions, because these are small studies, the master's level compared to the PhD ones. So here you can see that basically quantitatively she has tried to study the effectiveness, where she will speak in terms of numbers. She has also tried to get their opinions, and the research question that was in focus was how are their experiences during the video-based learning. So could they be connected with this effectiveness academically or even to the opinions? Okay, so here she had used the explanatory mixed method design, where the quantitative data analysis was then followed up with the qualitative analysis, and then later on for interpretation. Quantitative, she had used the single group process only pre-experimental design. So that was kept little at, we'll say, low profile, or the one where we cannot go for generalization, because that was not the focus. And the second one was she had used the content analysis for qualitative approach. I know some of you may have the questions the moment I say content analysis as qualitative approach. And not only Pallavi's research, but there will be 2 more researches that will come where we will be talking about referring content analysis as qualitative method. There are 2 perspectives towards content analysis. One school of thought considers it as quantitative, another school of thought considers it as qualitative. So we had considered the second school of thought where content analysis is considered as the qualitative method of research. So, okay, so here is her joint display. Now, her first objective was related to the achievement, and in case of educational technology, and since it was only post-test only design, there was no comparison of pre-test and post-test, and t-test did not come into picture. But in educational technology, we talk about the mastery learning, or we consider that as an important parameter when we talk quantitatively. So mastery learning speaks that it needs to be 80 by 80. So she did not reach 80 by 80, but she reached 64 by 64 in her quantitative analysis. The way she has presented data is column number 1 is quantitative and column number 3 is qualitative, and in between she has put the her comments which are connecting both the columns. So the course or the reasons that she got from qualitative analysis, which was through their interview and researchers' observation during when they were getting exposed to video-based learning. So it was their first time exposure. These students were never exposed to video-based learning before that. So there was, they enjoyed, of course, but it was something new for them. So there was fun element, yes, definitely, and there was a lot of variety, and there were different types of videos that were used. How has she connected the data? Let's see. So the experience of students indicates that they were enjoying the sessions with the videos, but still it has not reached 80 by 80. But hence they were able to learn from videos, and research results were prominent that their achievement in the test scores. So test scores are good, but of course, as I said, there was no comparison possible because pre-test wasn't there. It wasn't possible to conduct pre-test in that particular context. So only post-test was here, and that's how she has explained the quantitative part of it. The second part was that information in the videos was detailed enough. Now, this was one of the feedback, there was an opinionaire given, which is again a quantitative tool. So for this particular statement, she felt that there was qualitative support she got from the analysis. So this is what the students have said, that the videos should be visually appealing, and animation should be incorporated in the videos, and activities also should be involved. So a few students, she has given the explanation now that they watch videos and they were able to understand, whereas some of them did not look for the information from textbook. The videos were sufficient, and activities supported in the learning that took place via the video. So from these particular, connections, she could link it with that. Why did they feel that the information in the videos was sufficient enough? We will go to the next research, that is Vaishnavi conducted this research. Now she is a student. She was a student of MSc e-learning, again passed out in 2020. She has conducted research on the self-regulated learning of students in self-organized learning environment SOL. Now, you all must be aware of the experiment that Professor Sugato had conducted in the hole in the wall experiment, where he was working for industry and students, across the wall there was a slum, and he had put a computer over there, and how they were still learning even though there was nobody to teach. That was the experiment conducted, and that is a very well-known study in the field of educational technology. When it comes to now we have come much ahead, because that was many years earlier. So now it is in the cloud, in the school in the cloud. So this SOL experiment is kind of an advanced version, or the version after many years of that experiment of hole in the wall. Okay, so here the concept is that the students are exposed to this self-organized learning kind of an environment, where they are exposed with a big question, and they are expected to find out the answers for that. The resources they can look for the library books, they can look for resources from internet. So that is the whole concept, and she basically focused on the self-regulated learning aspect of that. So that was this research, and since there were almost zero research is found on this, because this itself is very new concept. Even though the group which came up with this particular concept, they have not conducted many systematic researches about it, and that is why Vaishnavi felt that she should go for it. And since it was being done for the first time, it was thought that it will be interesting to look at the situation from even qualitative perspective, rather than limiting it to only how much they learn, how many marks do they obtain in a particular subject or a particular test. And that is why this mixed method study was generated. Okay, now this is again a same diagram, which you can see the diagrammatic representation. She had used the embedded mixed method design for some aspect, where while she was conducting the experiment, there was a lot of qualitative data getting generated, which was analyzed. The data was in the form of the work by the students, of course the researchers' observations, their interactions with, they were divided into smaller groups, so their interactions. And there was also qualitative data collection involved after the quantitative, the entire experiment got over. So she had identified the students, and they were interviewed. So those interviews were conducted after the entire experiment was over, and that is why it is also explanatory mixed method design. So this is a research where you can see that there are two different mixed method designs have been incorporated. Okay, let us now look at the mixing, how she has mixed the data. So the SOL, that is the strategy which she had used, gave them highest scope for using the organization strategies amongst the cognitive and metacognitive strategies. Now, this is what they have opined, the students have opined, because there was an opinion given to them at the, as a part of the entire research. So this is what they have opined. So the quantitative analysis says that nothing important points or outlining the important concepts which will help them solve a big question. That was the essence captured through the qualitative analysis. and the participants drew flow charts. I told that during the experiment they were required to write, or rather draw, present visually whatever they felt. So the flowcharts and diagrams to organize the gathered information. So how has she mixed up the data, or how has she used the qualitative data for explaining this particular quantitative analysis, quantitative finding? That the responses of students are in support with the quantitative findings, and hence it can be derived that Soul have sorry, that was a typo. Soul have Soul gave them great scope for using the organization strategies. So this was the highest score obtained on this. So through this qualitative analysis, she got the support for it. See, qualitative analysis would sometimes give you support, or sometimes it may generate some contradictory situations as well. The most important part in this is the column of mixing of data, where you connect both of them. If it is in support, then to identify that particular point or that particular finding from quantitative, and then find the appropriate support, or of course it will go logically from the qualitative analysis, and bring it to the notice of the reader or evaluator. I think that's the whole crux of it. So that's the essence of the joint display, or that's the essence of mixing of data. Okay, let's go ahead now. Another finding is Soul gave them lowest. Okay, lowest was 67.71% score for using elaboration strategies amongst cognitive and metacognitive strategies, because that was her focus. So especially the metacognition process. Qualitative analysis talks about the discrepancy between the qualitative and quantitative data results regarding usage of elaboration strategies. So they felt like there was no support for this in the qualitative. So here comes even the researchers, I would say a researcher's own ability to analyze that why it could be. If there is discrepancy, like in this particular case, why is it so? Why has it happened that both of them are not speaking the same language, or both quantitative and qualitative are not directing towards one thing? Why is it not happening? So here in the mixing of data, or in the in joint display, there is a scope here that to write those reasons. Firstly, to think about those reasons why it has been not there has been no consensus in that. So here may be the difficulty in understanding the related statements. So they may be, so here somewhere maybe the researcher is saying that there was maybe a lack in the fine tuning of the instrument itself, or the statement in the instrument itself. Okay, maybe there is also a lack in the apt interview questions to dig out the factors related to low scores. So somewhere maybe the it is when the discrepancy between quant and qual is concerned, the researcher is trying to also look into one's own practices, or one's own instruments that are used, or techniques that are used, and maybe there also one would find reasons for this, the difference between the qualitative and the quantitative findings. So this also could be a situation. So one needs to be open for that as well. The third one in that is the highest scope for using peer learning strategies amongst resource management strategies. Okay, so so many points from qualitative have been mentioned, that there was distributed work. So that was, they said that, okay, we had distributed, so that is again supporting this particular finding. they visited the other groups to see how they were solving the big question. So they were not only, learning from one another, from other members of their own group, but they were also visiting the other groups and, exploiting that opportunity to learn from them as well. They worked and coordinated with each other beyond the school and to solve the question. That was something, very interesting, and as a researcher, very motivating as well, because we generally see that, okay, the school ends and then they don't want to discuss this beyond the school. But here they were spending that kind of time. So even that might have contributed in getting this highest score for peer learning. So it did not end at the when the school timings ended. Peers acted as guide to each other. So this is once again an interesting part where they did not hesitate to learn from each other, or did not hesitate to take guidance from their peers. So the responses of the students are in support with the quantitative finding, hence it can be derived that SOL gave great scope for peer learning. So it's not only from quantitative analysis, but the entire qualitative parts, which are the points which are in support with this, they all are speaking the same language, showing the same direction, and that's what the mixing of data is speaking about. I hope I have enough time. Okay. 20 minutes more. Okay, thank you. So the scope, there was lowest scope in using help-seeking strategies amongst the resource management strategies. So they were comfortable with their own friends and continue with the same group. She had given them the scope for changing the group. This entire thing was done in 3 cycles. And in spite of they were given the scope and opportunity to exchange the membership of the groups, they did not do that. Did not find other students to be that friendly. Okay, so that also maybe that could be the reason where once they started and developed that cohesiveness within the group, or the comfort working with the members of the group, they preferred continuing with that. And the insecurity that sharing information may lead to stealing. So this is interesting. This was done with the school students, so I'm sure like it might have come very naturally. So these are the points which are in support with why lowest scope for using help-seeking strategies. And then the researcher has given the comments in the central column. Okay, we come to the next research, which was once again MA e-learning 2020. So same, all these 3 students are of the same batch. So Sushmita had conducted this research where she used social media for the teaching learning purpose, and wanted to check that how effective it is. So the social media she had selected was WhatsApp, and she tried to teach a module from I think travel and tourism using the WhatsApp group dedicated for it, and she wanted to study how the things go within that group. Okay, so let us see what she has done. I'm directly here jumping with the results after mixing the data, because as I said, it's a similar one. The experimental design was the pre-experimental design was used, and content analysis was used for the qualitative aspect. So here the performance of the students in the achievement test was poor. That's what the quantitative finding says. And did she find a reason for why it was poor? That the students made use of vernacular languages with the abbreviations in social media while exchanging the messages. So she felt that could be the reason. So their poor language skills have contributed for their achievement scores being low or poor. They believe that the WhatsApp alone was not sufficient, because that's what they felt during the, like, this is a statement from Opinionaire now, to help them in their studies. So they had a lot of queries and found it difficult to follow the instructions given on the social media platform. So it is not everybody's cake to be able to grasp instructions, to be able to learn from the discussions through social media. Especially like these are undergraduate students, so maybe this was again a first time exposure for them for this modality of studying. We do find this factor playing role in many of the researches that our department students conduct, because wherever they go for conducting their research, I'm not saying 100% of the places, but almost every place, that kind of exposure their students are getting for the first time. So it definitely, like, they are not habitual to it for getting to learn through this, and that's why they found that it was a challenging issue for them. This is a little earlier study of by Kartika. Kartika was the topper of that batch, and here you will see how differently she has presented her, the joint display. So the program that time was named as MA in Educational Technology. So she passed out in 2018. So she again took up a comparative study of social presence on blogs and discussion forums. So social presence, she has defined as, like, when the person either shares something, maybe give comments on somebody else's post, or post one's comments, or that kind of, it may be at times content wise, or it may be just yes, I like your whatever you have said, or I feel happy that you raised this point, something like that. So that's what she meant by social presence in her research. So let's see what she has done. So there was an opinionaire, and these were the categories she had considered in the opinionaire about with a discussion forum, instructor, because she tried to teach them some topic, but the focus was not of achievement, and that's why you don't find anywhere achievement as such. And etiquette, activity and etiquettes were used. The approach for that was quantitative, and social presence indicators were identified for the responses by the participants. She considered these responses under three categories: affective responses, interactive responses, and cohesive responses. So, affective is only just, hi, hello, thumbs up, that's all. Interaction means actually somebody has, suppose, shared an incident, I'm taking threads from that and then, connecting to it. And cohesive is, all is coming together, everything. So it was done through qualitative. So this was her joint display. Now you can see that here she has tried to put it in a more diagrammatic manner than a mere tabular form. So this WordPress was the website that she had used, and it was a discussion forum. So this was a blog and discussion forum. So here you can see that she has tried to put it in use the the rectangles. So you can see that for affective response, I mean, here she has tried to compare two-dimensionally. Even she one dimension is the type of response, which is affective, cohesive, and interactive, and that is horizontally, and vertically she has tried to compare the the blog and the discussion forum. So when you look at it from the type of responses wise, then you can see that the affective and cohesive are they are of the same level. But whereas the interactive, where there were more of interactive types as compared to affective and cohesive. Affective and cohesive. So that's how she has tried to put it in a diagrammatic manner. And when it comes to comparing the blog versus discussion forum, in case of cohesive, she found that it was more in case of the blog, that is WordPress, as compared to the discussion forum. So this is, of course, when you're writing a chapter or writing a research paper, you will have to talk a lot about this joint display. It's not that I just give a joint display and leave it to the deciphering the joint display to the reader or audience. But definitely, having said that, John Creswell believes a lot in putting the things together. I would not say diagrammatically, but definitely in the visual form. So the visual form could be a table, or could be a diagram like this, or it could be any other diagram, could be a flow chart. So that, of course, is left to the researcher, and how one looks at the data and looks at one's research. It depends on that. But definitely there has to be some visual representation where you are putting both quantitative and qualitative coming together. Okay, so we are coming to the end of this particular session now. Fine, we have seen some researches. I'm not saying that they are the final word in the era of mixed method, but what are the lessons that are lessons for me basically? Okay, I don't know whether they are for you, but for me as a researcher as well as a research guide, that the thinking about joint display has to be right from the beginning. The moment you say that, like we see when we take up research and when we come up with a decision that, okay, this particular research needs to be addressed through qualitative and quantitative both, like both methods needs to be adopted. At that time, of course, there are research objectives as well as research questions to handle the quan and qual part of it. At the same time, one needs to start thinking, how will that be merged? How will that joint display will look like? It will be a very, very sketchy picture or a very amorphous kind of a picture in the beginning. But as you proceed with the research, it will be, the things will be clearer to you as one moves ahead. But it is essential. I was fortunate to attend a mixed method research workshop in University of Michigan in 2019, where Professor John Creswell himself was there and his team. And in the beginning, they gave us many worksheets to work during the workshop. And one of the worksheet was, how will you present the results? How will your joint display look like? So in the beginning, it was, for me, of course, it was, I had taken up a research which was over as an example, but many had taken the examples of the researches which were, they were planning to start, or they were in the middle of it or something like that. Still, they insisted, the team insisted that you have to, try portraying your visual form of the joint display. And believe me, it helps a lot. It helps in getting more clarity of exactly what we are doing, why we are doing, how can the different components link, being linked together. I'm not saying that a form of joint display has to be fixed and finalized and no more can be changed during the process of research, conduct of research. But the more it is, at least make efforts to put that down on paper. It definitely plays a lot of role. Because when you are, suppose you know that this is my objective, so you naturally know that this will be the hypothesis. Naturally, you know that this will be the statistical technique that will be adopted, and my findings will be in this language. I'm not saying I know the finding, but this will be in this language, or it will be related to this particular variable. So, and at a parallelly, if I'm looking at what is happening in the qualitative scenario along with it, then I'm able to link those or identify those points from qualitative right before I start with the actual start with data collection, or I get into that research site as such. So, and then you will be paying more attention to those points perhaps while collecting your data. Maybe if you're developing an observation schedule, you will be paying more attention to those points, and you will ensure that there are points related to those aspects or parameters in your observation schedule. Or if you are interviewing, then you would ensure that there is an in-depth question related to those parameters and things like that. And that is why it has to be started right from the beginning. The second is start looking at the quant data from qualitative perspective and qualitative data from quantitative perspective. Because in joint display, when you are expected to put them together and make sense of them together in together form. So for activity to be complete or to completely exploit that opportunity, you need to finely tune or map these points from qualitative and quantitative, and for that purpose it is essential to look at one type of data from another perspective as well, so that your joint display becomes more and more enriching for you, and it is satisfying. A lot of its moment of contentment, I can say. And the third and the last point, this is once again both for the students as well as for the guides. Of course, students, it is their responsibility because it is their research. It is going to be published, going to be known by their name, so it is their primary responsibility. Definitely, yes. As it is, we know that in research, all the more in qualitative research and even all the more in mixed method research, we need to have those, I'm using the term pause for that purposely, because we have to, you think something, you put it on, paper or whatever, and then you take a step back and look at your own, that complex picture that you have prepared, and then try to look whether it is making sense. You try to look at it from a variety of dimensions. So that you need a pause for that. You can't be all the time rushing with the things and then simultaneously working. Okay, I took a decision immediately, I start working immediately, I'm doing something later. So I personally believe that for any research, if there are more number of that kind of pauses in the sense, I'm not saying not doing work, For 1 month, I'm not touch my research work at all. So is that a pause? No, that is not a pause. Pause means I'm having a reflection session, or I can say in India we talk about, we are very spiritual people, so we talk about the term satsang in context of the any spiritual event. So my pause means that satsang. So it could be with you, I mean you alone. It could be you and your guide, but just sitting peacefully with that whatever you have put it, tried. Maybe a concept map, maybe a table, maybe a flow chart about your, what you want to do, how you want to do, and even the way it is making sense together. So just look at it. What feeling it gives? Feeling means what is it conveying? Is it there something else? Is there something hidden which has got missed out? So you need basically peaceful time slots for that, and that is why I have written it as the dedicated time for developing the joint display. You can't just have it in a very rush kind of thing. So you need dedicated time and devoted time for that. So all in all, I would say that the mixed method as it is takes a lot of time, energy, intellect, and even more altogether, even more than that, when you take up a challenge like mixed method. But on one side, while it is a challenge, on another side, it is extremely satisfying procedure, or extremely satisfying experience, very enriching experience. It's fun. It's that rigorous, but the kind of satisfaction and enrichment you would have at the end of it, only quantitative will not give you, or I would even dare to say that only qualitative will not give you. And if we have put in all those efforts to really go at that level, then why to shy away from putting it together? And that is why I term it as climax of mixed method researches. Somebody told me a few days ago that I have never seen research where they have mixed the data. I said, if they have not mixed the data, then what is it they have done? It's not mixed method research at all, in my opinion. So if you have taken all those efforts to conceptualize a mixed method research, then why shy away from putting that, walking a little 2 steps ahead and putting that the research in the joint display format? So I hope at the end of it, if it motivates at least some of you to take up joint display, I shall be more than happy. And I will feel that, okay, this particular, it was worth having this webinar on this particular topic. So I once again thank the organizers and the participants all the more. And here is my email ID, and I would love to be connected with you in context of mixed method research. So thank you once again. I'm ending my session, and I suppose if there are any questions, we shall be able to take ahead. But over to organizers as of now.
Thank you, ma'am.
You may raise the questions if there are some questions in the chat box.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much for such a thought-provoking and delightful presentation. It was very much useful for everyone. Thank you so much, ma'am. There are some questions in the chat box. Let me read, ma'am.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. First one is from Ghanshyam Gupta. How grounded theory becomes explanatory rather exploratory? Should I read once more, ma'am? how grounded theory becomes explanatory rather than exploratory.
Okay, now in case, in the context in which that particular research, the context in which grounded theory was used, it was, the context was, it was explaining or used for explaining the quantitative results in the qualitative manner. And that was the reason why it was the term explanatory has been used over there.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Next is from. Sorry. Next is from Sindhu. In qualitative research, what are the quantitative techniques we used? In qualitative research, what are the quantitative techniques we used?
We don't use quantitative techniques in qualitative research. Suppose, for example, if I say that, like as we have seen in quite a few of the researches that were shared examples, that suppose opinionaire has been used for collecting the for what they felt about the treatment. So there are for each statement of opinionaire, or there are there is a backend framework for the entire opinionaire, and for each statement is focused towards a particular aspect. So quantitatively they have responded. Okay, if suppose they have liked, or they have liked somewhat, or not liked, whatever. So in qualitative, what one would go and dig and look into is, suppose the in a nutshell, the group of students have said that this particular video package was not so useful for us. So the researcher would like to look at the qualitative data, or would like to find out the reasons qualitatively, that what could be the reasons that the students have not liked this video a lot, or it could be a vice versa. If they have found answering big question difficult, for example, then what was it that they found difficult, so that the qualitative data or qualitative process will be able to answer that kind of a question. Because quantitative would just give a talk in terms of figures. So I would not like, the question was that what quantitative tools could be used for qualitative. I wouldn't say it's not for qualitative, but I would say that they could be like, if that is your basis on which you are going for qualitative, then they could be used as a base, or they could be used as a base, points to begin with, and from there one can move on to the qualitative part.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, one more question. Harnisha Haridhar, where should we add the quotes from the respondent? Where should we add the quotes from the respondent? Thank you, ma'am.
No, I couldn't get this question. Could you please repeat the question, please?
Where should we add the quotes from the respondents?
Okay, now this is, I would say, a very like the question for which there could not be a single answer. It would depend on the way you want to present your qualitative analysis. So, for example, now if it is a grounded theory, and if it is grounded theory, basically speaks that one has to, put it in the diagrammatical form. The theory has to come in a diagrammatic manner. But the diagram has to have the fixed components if the Strauss and Corbin approach is being used. As against that, if one uses the Charmas approach, then in case of Charmas, she says that it is the freedom of the researcher. Of course, the researcher also needs to be at that level of maturity. but the researcher has to justify that why these components and why this kind of diagram and why these kind of connectors are being used. So it depends on that basically. So the codes would appear in the in whatever form the researcher wants to present diagrammatically. Coming to joint display, if this question is being asked in context of joint display, that's what I assume, because that is our today's topic. In that case, the codes could be used when you are like, as we had seen examples, the quantitative finding has been put, and in the same row, when it comes to qualitative column, in that you can use those codes or mention those codes and then link it together. So that could be the position, or that could be the location in joint display for the codes.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, if you want to ask something, please go ahead. Now it's a time of deliberation. So if you want to ask something to ma'am regarding the topic, please go on. Please share your opinions and views regarding the today's topic. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful session. And you have explained complicated topics in the simplest language, and your tone, your way of approach is really superb and very friendly. And the research department of Madhavi Training College and all the participants are truly indebted to you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thanks a lot for your great gesture.
Thank you so much.
Hello, dear participants. The link of Insight Indepth program is provided in the chat box. Next week, the same time, 2:30 p.m., we have an outstanding talk in our Insight Indepth series, and you can join our Insight Indepth group so that you will get the link and the YouTube link also. The YouTube link of today's talk will be provided to our Insight Indepth group now, and you have to fill in both the feedbacks. Both the feedbacks are very important. Take a couple of minutes to fill in the feedbacks so that you can be sure about the e-certificates. Now, moving on to vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. According to words of John F. Kennedy, we must find time to thank the people who make a difference in our lives. Certainly, today's talk make a difference in our lives. Most of us are research scholars, so it will definitely help us. Now, it's the time to express our gratitude. Let me invite Deepa S., research scholar, Madhavi Training College, for proposing the vote of thanks. Over to you, Deepa.
Sanila, is it audible?
Yes, it's audible, Deepa. Please. Thank you.
Good evening, one and all. First and foremost, let me start by giving glory to the God Almighty for the blessings and making today's session a resounding success. On behalf of Dr. K.Y. Benedict sir, our principal and Madhavi Training College Research Wing, I extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. Madhavi Dharankar, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Educational Technology, SNDT University, Mumbai, who despite of her busy schedule has found time to grace this occasion. Here, sharing thought-provoking experiences on mixed method was exceptional and unique. We are really grateful to you, ma'am, for your innovative ideas in joint display of qualitative and quantitative, your mode of presentation and the way of communication. Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me offer our sincere thanks to our respected and beloved principal, Dr. K.Y. Benedict sir, who is the backbone of our institution, for the constant support and guidance in our all research activities. Thank you, sir. We are also grateful to our respected and dear Dr. Joju John sir, Associate Professor and Coordinator of our research wing, for the motivation and innovative ideas behind the systematic execution of the program. Thank you, sir. Next, I want to extend our sincere thanks to professors of different colleges, research guides, research scholars, all esteemed participants, and faculty members of Martha Training College for the presence and active participation. Thank you all. Last but not least, I thank all my fellow researchers and Saumya, the secretary of our research wing, for the meticulous arrangement for conducting the program. Wish you good luck and safe time. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa. Dear participants, please fill the feedback forms. There are 2 feedback forms. The link is provided in the chat box. E-certificate will be issued within 2 days in the email ID which you have entered in the feedback form. Thank you so much for your valuable participation. Please join us on next Friday for another great webinar in our Insight In-Depth Invited Talk series. Thank you so much. See you all next week. God bless you all. Stay safe. Thank you once again. Now, we have come to the end of the webinar. If possible, please stand up for National Anthem. Thank you.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you once again, each and everyone. Thank you. Please
Thank
fill
you
the
very
feedback
much.
forms.